Okay, call to order. I call to order the regular meeting of the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Board of Directors of March 19th, 2026. Martina, please call the roll to ensure that we have a quorum of the board present.
Absolutely. In alphabetical order of member agency, do
Oh,
we have?
1 second. You have to push down because if you don't have a green light, it won't be recorded. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Starting with Bolinas Fire District, do we have Director Molesworth? For Mill Valley, Director Jones. For the City of Sanderfeld, Director Kurtz.
Present.
For the City of Larkspur, Director Way. For the County of Marin, Director Rodoni.
Present.
For Inverness, Director Donahue.
Here.
For Kent Field Fire, Director Evergettis.
Here.
For Marinwood, Director Shea. For Muir Beach, Director Murray. For Novato, Director Going.
Here.
For Sleepy Hollow, Director Finn.
Here.
For Stinson Beach, Director White.
Here.
For Corte Madera, do we have Director Andrews?
Casisa here.
Director Casisa. Apologies.
No problem.
For the Town of Fairfax, Director Kohler.
I'm here.
For the Town of Ross, Director McMillan will be joining us momentarily. For the Town of San Anselmo, Director Schlesinger.
Here.
And I do want to record for the minutes that Director Murray has just arrived for Muir Beach. And last but certainly not least, for Southern Marin, Director Hilliard.
Here.
We do have a quorum and may proceed.
Great. All right. So item 3 is agenda adjustments. Do board members or staff have any agenda adjustments? I do. We have, let me just, where is it? Yes. So under consent calendar, I would like to take D, the cost of living index, off the consent calendar so we vote on it in open session. And I'd like to put it either before item 7A or after item 7A. Could I have an opinion from staff or our attorney?
That's fine to move it. We just need to have a vote of the board to make that change.
Okay.
Before you do that, I'm wondering, I have a lot of questions on the 6C. Shall we pull that one, or I'm not sure. We've been kind of talking back and forth. Should we pull that for discussion here, or should you just provide more information at consent, Mark?
Happy to do either. I mean, a lot of times when we want to pull a consent item, we can do that at the consent item
Okay, well, let's,
portion of the a meeting rather than making it a separate agenda item.
okay, well, let's do that.
adjustments.
And I just want to mention, I just got a text from Director Way that she's online, but I don't think her address isn't listed on the agenda, so she can't unless it's just cause. So I think maybe you can check with her. I don't see it. I'm looking at the agenda right now. I don't have a location in Larkspur.
We'll deal with that offline.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
If your preference is to deal with questions about consent calendar items under the consent calendar, I just want this to be a very public discussion about the tax rate increase.
Yeah, you bet. My suggestion would be to pull it at consent, discuss it and vote on it as a separate item during consent.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to pull that item 6D. Did we need a motion?
No, you can do that at consent.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. Any other changes? All right. So then I need to have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the corrections.
And then just prior to the consent
Oh,
calendar
sorry.
vote.
I think two things we need to do first is that first, we hadn't called consent yet. So we need to actually allow public comment on consent prior to the vote. And that would include all items, including those that have been pulled for separate discussion. So if we can
that's
do
right.
that before the
Okay.
vote, that would be helpful.
Okay, going backwards. Okay. Item 4 is open time for public expression. The public is welcome to address the Board of Directors at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the board. Please be advised that pursuant to Government Code 54954.2, the board is not permitted to discuss or take action on any items not on the agenda. Comments may be no longer than 2 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting, and please mute your microphone when not reporting out. Do we have any people who would here present or online who wish to make public comments at this time?
There are no hands at this time. I did wish to inform the board, though, that Director Way is in our remote environment. Her address is listed on the agenda, so we can allow her participation. We will have to take a roll call vote.
Thank you. Welcome, Director. Okay, so moving on. Item 5, Executive Officers Report, Oral Report. Okay, Mark.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's getting to be that time of year where I at least start mentioning fire season and perhaps what the fuel outlooks may be. I think you all are Daniel Swain fans and have listened to how he describes weather and weather whiplash. And I don't think we can have a winter that is more along the descriptions of the weather whiplash that he's been talking about. We've either had extended wet periods or we've had extended dry periods. And I just looked at the 100-hour and 1,000-hour fuels, and they are below historical lows right now, or down way below the average, down below what would be considered critical for this time of year, just for the fact that we haven't had any rain. My hope is for a miracle April, and that we have precipitation in April and May. Reading into the long-term predictions, the meteorologists and the models are having a really hard time trying to determine if we're going to have an average spring or wetter than average spring or a drier than average spring, because we're right on the cusp of going into El Nino, and El Nino just completely messes up everything when it comes to predictivity of precipitation. Typically, El Nino will bring more precipitation, but it doesn't always bring more precipitation to the entire West Coast. It may be higher up in the West Coast or lower in the West Coast. So that was a long way of saying I really hope we get rain in April, because if we've seen our last precipitation for this year, then fire season will be interesting. Moving on, did have an opportunity to participate in a Climate and Wildfire Institute convening 2 days ago. If you remember, last year in March, we co-convened the Climate and Wildfire Institute and the Wildfire and Forest Resilience Task Force here in Marin in March. Same meeting, was able to go back to that and discuss quite a few things, especially along the world the lines of insurance. And there's a lot of motivation and drive to continue to support the re-engagement of the insurance industry here in California, increase the number of policy availability, and with that increased availability, start looking at decrease in rates. As a reminder, Catherine and I will be going to the International Association of Fire Chiefs WUI conference next week to accept the award for the wildfire mitigations. Very excited about that. Exemplary of our work. And then actually 2 weeks ago, I've lost track of time. Early this month, Kathleen Cutter and I were able to attend the California Fire Prevention Institute and present in Zone Zero in a Box, which you guys are going to get a presentation later today. And hopefully, when I say Zone Zero in a Box this time, it's the last time I'm going to say it, because we are coming up with a better name that I'll let Kathleen share with you later on today. Resource Legacy Fund ×2, I put that in there because I had the opportunity to go to Sacramento, invited by the Resource Legacy Fund to come up with some policy guidance that they would like to offer the new governor. It was surrounding wildfire mitigation, wildfire response, so on and so forth. Marin Wildfire has gotten enough of a reputation to allow us to be invited for such an event. And then Tuesday of next week, their board of directors are visiting here in Marin for their board of directors meeting. We are helping them host it at the Sleepy Hollow Community Center. And we'll also have an opportunity to put on display some of the work that we've been doing with Marin Wildfire. I did want to bring up some of our homeowners insurance efforts. I think many of you heard of the success story that we have already had where we had engaged with Mercury Insurance. They gave us a really reasonable list of requirements to bring people off the California Fair Plan. We pointed them towards Inverness because that's where the highest rate of California Fair Plan in Marin is. We also knew that there were 200 or 300 structures that were 1 or 2 items away. Well, we have now gotten someone off the California Fair Plan, and they are insured by Mercury, and we are well on the way of producing a well-organized media drive, because we don't want to just celebrate this success. We want to use this success as the linchpin that brings on more successes. And she's already, the lady who got her insurance pulled off of the Fair Plan has already had 10 of her neighbors asking, how do I do this? And some of them are already engaged with Mercury, hopefully to go down the same path. The next step is to get other insurers to come in. So speaking of other insurers, Rock Rose Risk, not an insurer, but a broker, had when they first entered the market, they were looking more at commercial properties or homeowners associations. Now they're starting to go into the single family residence market. And I'll share the link with you later rather than bore you guys by driving into their website. But they actually have a website specifically pointed at Mill Valley and Southern Marin and the work that's been going on between the residents, Southern Marin Fire, the City of Mill Valley, Marin Wildfire, and Fire Safe Marin. I'm completely blown away with the thoroughness of their website. You would have thought that we wrote the website when it comes to talk about all the work that's been going on. It highlights Marin Wildfire, highlights Southern Marin Fire, highlights Mill Valley, and it's all really accurate information. And they plan to do more of these websites on their, or pages on their website for more of our member agencies to, again, provide another insurance option for residents that are on the California Fair Plan. And then finally, thank you all for responding to the polling for the strategic retreat. We thought we were going to be able to pull it off on April 4th. Unfortunately, between board members and staff, we aren't going to end up with the right key players there. So that means, guess what? Another doodle poll coming your way. The consensus is, let's get it right. Let's get the right people there rather than rush the process. So after the board meeting, if there are some absolute, I cannot do it in this time frame, please let me know, and then I'll work with Gene to form another doodle poll to see if we can finally land on a date. And with that, I'll stop my screen share and take any questions.
So now is the time for, yes.
Mark, I have a quick question on the strategic retreat. The 2 locations that were posed were here or Red Barn. What's our capability to set up a good sound system and, with closed captioning, et cetera, here at Red Barn? Can we do that there also, or can we only do that here? That's my question.
The consensus was for here, so we'll likely land here.
Both places?
The consensus was to have the meeting here.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. That's good.
Great.
Just in case.
Sure.
Also, if I could clarify, I don't think it's a Red Barn. I think it's a Dance Palace, right?
No, we were looking at the Point Reyes National Seashores Red Barn.
Oh, the seashore. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. I'll now take public comment on this item. Is there any member of the public present or online that would like to make a comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments, let's bring it back to the board. This is a discussion item, so no motion is required. And now we are at item 6, the consent calendar. And we've already, the opportunity for public comment on the consent calendar items will occur prior to the board's discussion of the consent calendar. The board may approve the entire calendar with one action. In the alternative, items on the consent calendar may be removed by any board or staff member for separate discussion and vote. And I will now take public comment on the consent calendar. Any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment on the consent calendar?
There are no hands at this time.
Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board members, and we had a pre-discussion about two items. And so, Director Kohler, do you want to
I think we first have to make a motion to pull, just clarification, I think we need to make a motion to pull 6D and from the
6C and 6D were the items that were discussed to be pulled.
Okay, and we're going to pull both of those? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to pull 6C and 6D.
I'll
Some-
second that.
um,
Roll call.
I'll
We
make a
n-
motion to approve the remainder of the agenda. So A, B, it was.
You mean the
B,
consent
Consent
calendar?
calendar.
B and E.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the rest of the consent calendar. Is that the way we do it? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we need a roll call vote.
Okay, and just for the purpose of the minutes, we are doing a roll call vote for the approval of items 6A, B, and E. And now, starting in order of member agency, Bolinas, is not present. Mill Valley, Centerville,
Aye.
Larkspur,
Yes.
County of Marin,
Yes.
Inverness,
Aye.
Centerville.
Aye.
Oh, apologies.
Okay. Double, yep.
Penfield,
Aye.
Marinwood, Muir Beach,
Aye.
Novato,
Aye.
Sleepy Hollow,
Aye.
Southern Marin,
Aye.
Stinson Beach,
Aye.
Corte Madera,
Aye.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Ross,
Aye.
and Town of San Anselmo.
Yes.
It is a unanimous vote of all in attendance.
Great. All right, now we'll go to item 6C, the agreement with the civics for consulting services related to Marin Wildfire tax renewal. And I think,
Do you want me to ask my questions or do you want to cover it?
I think we'll cover it, and Megan's going to start it off, and I'll finish it up, and then we can
Okay, that
answer
would
any
be great.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, directors. We received some helpful comments from Director Kohler regarding the agreement with Team Civics. Charles Heath is the principal person who would be involved with this contract. And so we'd been in negotiations with him. And based on the comments from Director Kohler, we were able to negotiate that the first year of the agreement will be billed under an hourly rate rather than by month. There had been a flat rate of $6,000 a month that had been proposed for the full length of the agreement. But given that we have quite a bit of lead time ahead of the proposed or potential ballot measure for the renewal of Measure C, we thought that it would be a useful way to start sort of slowly with this hourly. And then as we get closer to in time to when we'll need more of his services, we'll be able to increase that to the monthly rate. So that new rate is included in paragraph 4 of the agreement that's actually in your packet. We just hadn't changed the staff report, so I wanted to make it clear that that change had been made. And then we also got some clarity from Mr. Heath about who would be staffing and what his experience in this area is. Just for those of you who are not familiar with it, I think some of your agencies have probably worked with him because he's been working in the county for quite a while on different tax measures. So actually, I think Mark can put up some information that we received from him that'll give some clarification on that. The plan is for him to staff be the principal staff on any work that he's doing for MWPA because he was very integral in the work done to pass Measure C. And with that success has also built on his experience with wildfire prevention measures in other districts and is in the process of working on or other areas and is working on those. So he is very well versed in this area and wanted to provide us with that background. And then He also provided us with a list of all of the Marin measures and that he's been involved with to give everyone a sense of what those are. I don't know if Mark, you have those handy. That might be your second page of your slide.
Well, there were so many.
They won't fit.
There were 37 tax measures that he's helped with in Marin County. I can provide the thorough list to the board. I ran out of room on the slide, and unless I was going to have multiple slides. This a good portion of my recent evaluation was discussion about making sure that we were strategically placed for our renewal. The timing was good that Chief Weber, Marin County Fire, asked me to have a meeting with Derek Johnson, the CEO, to help strategize with our tax measure along with any other tax measures, just to make sure that our tax measure wasn't going to be put up against another one that could potentially draw votes from one another. So we had a nice strategy session, came to a good agreement of when it would be the right time for us to bring our tax measure. And when I asked about consultants, what their recommendation was, Jason, being intimately involved like he was, said we really should stick with Charles. Charles was the guy that helped us get this over the finish line the first time. No one else has done a tax measure like this before, and strongly recommend I reach out to Charles. So I reached out to Charles, and now this was the proposal. Thanks to Barbara's questions, we tweaked it a little bit to help with the first year costs, bring those first year's costs down, and then we would be able to move forward in the second year.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation. I'll now take questions from the board. Any? Yes.
Thanks for doing that. I just a question. Looking at the contract, it says the total compensation is 250,000, and I noticed that one mail out is something like 42,000. Is that included? I'm assuming there would be more than one mail out. Is that included in the total compensation? It's not clear from the contract.
We haven't committed to any mailing at this point. We've set that cap at assuming that there would be at least one mailing. Plus, if we fail to pass the measure, it builds in a cushion in case we need to pursue it a second time. So that's how we reached that number. If we needed to go above it to do additional mailings, we would come back to the board for that.
Okay, well, thanks for doing all that research. My concern when I read this initially was it was just 6,000 a month. There was no, I'm a consultant too, so maybe that's why I'm hard on people. But it just seemed like, there would be months of very little activity. Why are we paying that? And I added up what it costs, and it would be very significant. So really, 6,000 a month times 3 years is 216,000. And then if one mail out, that's 42,000. So that's where I think you got the 250, but let's hope that with the first year less work, that we're not, this is the people's money. It's not, it's not my money, but well, I guess I'm part of the people.
You are.
So anyway, that was my concern. And I just want to caution us that I'm sure he's great. And I know he's helping Tam Union now and helping others. But we should really be thinking about making sure that we iron out these details so that the people are feeling good that we're spending their money wisely, no matter how great he is. So I really appreciate all the hard work you guys did, and sorry for going back and forth.
That's okay. This made it better.
Yeah, Director Kurtz.
Thank you, and really appreciate, having the update. It's okay to have this conversation. Under the fiscal impact, it would be helpful to indicate where it's coming from in terms of is it core, is it an admin, is it outside of Marin Wildfire? And if maybe since it's already pulled, Megan, you could speak to a little bit in terms of the director's roles at this point in terms of where we can be involved, not involved. And second, I just want to give a plug for Charles. I've worked with Charles for close to 20 years on multiple of those initiatives that are probably on his list, and feel very, very comfortable that he absolutely knows Marin.
And I'll answer where the money would be coming from, and then pass it off to Megan as far as lines of demarcation of who and what and when can be happening. It would come from the administrative budget based on our policies. And so we would come within our professional services portion of the administrative budget.
Right. And maybe going forward, anytime we're doing that, just to identify in the fiscal impact. So it's very, very clear.
Of course.
Thank you.
Yes, and in terms, this is a pretty big conversation about sort of where those lines fall. I provided the board with direction or some guidance in a document that Jean Bonender provided to all of you in anticipation of the next strategic planning session. So you'll have that for more detail. But in general, the ability to plan a measure at this stage in particular, where it's really in its infancy and we don't have a concept of exactly what it will shape up to look like. Those discussions are well within the board's authority to work on, and we'll be very cautious as we move forward to delineate between informational activities and any sort of advocacy. That's really the line that we most closely try to not straddle. We don't want to go into advocacy at any point, even before the measure is fully developed. But at this stage, and again, we're safe to have these conversations. So thank you for asking.
Director Finn.
Yes, whether it's year one that's an hourly rate or subsequent years that's a flat rate, I'd like some assurance that whatever third-party services are provided to Team Civics, such as marketing materials, advertising, and other third-party items are charged to the MWPA without markup, and that they're billed at cost.
Response? Okay,
We'll connect.
thank you so much. So now we are, oh, sorry, I couldn't see you.
The bond measure, when is it passed? When are we going to?
The ballot initiative would expire in 2030. The tentative plan would be for 2028.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the
what-
November 2028?
No, well, and that's what we're going to work with Charles, whether March is a better date for 28 or if November is a better date for 28. Because it will be a primary year.
Okay. Director McMillan, did you want to say something?
Same question. Thank you.
Okay, Director Goins.
Yes, I look forward, Megan, to something in writing in regards to the process and roles and responsibilities. I'm new to this, 6 years in. I've never seen anything in print as far as, what process, what timeline, what our responsibilities were respectively with our boards and membership, consent to going forward. I mean, there's some questions I have, procedural questions that I have that I've seen nothing in print. And so I'm looking forward to a fairly detailed timeline and process so that we can understand what we're getting into. That's one. Secondly, I was part of the team that put together the marketing stuff for Measure C years ago. And I sat in a room with Jason and others. I don't know who of you were there, but it was at the sanitary district. And the entire campaign was paid for by donations from interested parties. And Jason was integral in, there was a facilitator and a flip chart, and names were put up and volunteers listed to who to call who to ask them if they would contribute to marketing this event. I'm surprised at the cost. I find cost disconcerting, frankly, and that's coming from admin. That's fine, but what is the opportunity for us to go back and backtrack and do what we did previously, and to look for community supporters that would benefit from this and be interested in donating to the campaign?
Thank you. Director Rodoni, did you want to say something? Okay, thank you. So, yes, Director Kohler.
Having been involved in several campaigns, right now we're at the juncture of being the agency that gets information out. That's very different than running a campaign. So once it becomes a campaign, then there will probably be some board members who, as citizens, will work on that campaign. And that's when you start asking for donations. But that was a different world that we were in back then. And there was no agency. So I think it's a little different. And I think, yes, hearing from Megan and Mark about where that cutoff lies will be helpful because many of us have not been involved in these, and it gets confusing, you know, where the line can be advocacy, which we can't do, versus just getting information out.
And just be aware that we are at the very beginning of the journey. So that's why there's not been much communication, and bringing the consultant on board to help strategize that timeline that you're asking for is just that we're at the beginning of it all.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just, for the record, stating the experience that I had first time doing this, and that rather than, you know, saying we're approving $250,000, I know we're approving a year here. I would like us to be sure that we incorporate, you know, past practices that were successful in getting Measure C and getting money to run the campaign. It's a lot of money. And if we have volunteers out there, if we have institutions, organizations, individuals, landowners that will pony up and say yes, I think we should go after them. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, that's a lot of conditions. I think what we need is to be sure that we have on paper the things that we've discussed today that are essential to be included in language that's clear in the contract. Also, I think we're also asking for some defined roles about our relationship with the contractor, meaning the board. And so if you've got all that, yes, additional comments. Yes, Director
I just
McMillan.
had a question. By approving this, we're not approving forming a campaign committee, right? I just want to make sure that we understand what we're approving. Maybe Megan, you could speak to that.
Yeah, I think it is pretty critical, even in the scope of work that he's put before us. It's very clear that he's helping us develop the measure, the language of the measure, informational materials around that measure, which is the only role that we really can play as the MWPA. Anything that's at all related to advocacy would be handled by a campaign committee, which is an entirely separate entity that is formed separately. As Director Kohler mentioned, members of this group may, on their own time, not as members of MWPA, but as individuals, may participate in that, but not as representatives of MWPA. And what I'll do, just so it sounds like there, several of you are questioning that just the basics of that advocacy versus information role. And I do have that memo that I prepared a couple of weeks ago and circulated. So I will send that again. It came from Jean, so that's potentially why others hadn't noticed that it was there, but I'm more than happy to recirculate that so that you'll have that as background. That provides some resources that are quite useful from the Institute of Local Government that gives you sort of the basics of what it's like to introduce a tax measure or any type of measure, where the boundaries are and that type of thing. But as we go forward, I'm always available to answer specific questions as they come up. And Mark and I, in consultation with Charles Heath, assuming this this agreement does get approved, we'll be working really hard to develop a timeline and the sort of specifics that you're interested in seeing. But it really is, as Mark indicated, pretty early in the development of this to have that clear enough to put in front of you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so now we are going to ask for a motion to approve the agreement as with all of these. Okay. So I'm corrected. All right. So now we would like to hear from the public after hearing this discussion.
Just to clarify, it's a consent item that's been pulled, so you already gave the public the opportunity to discuss this during the public comment period for consent. So we just
Okay.
can go forward with the roll call.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I think we need a separate motion then on this item. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I'm happy to raise the motion. Approve the agreement with Team Civics for professional consulting services related to the Marin Wildfire tax renewal measure and authorize the executive officer to execute the agreement.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and second. Roll call. Wait, now we need public comment, yes? No. Okay, good. All right. Could you please take the roll? Roll call vote.
In order of member agencies present, City of Santa Fe,
Aye.
Larkspur,
Yes.
County of Marin,
Yes.
Inverness,
Aye.
Kentfield,
Sorry, was aye.
Muir Beach, Aye. Novato,
Aye.
Sleepy Hollow,
Provisional I with a question. Are we approving it subject to the requests for changes, or are we approving it as written?
Subject to changes.
It was modified.
Subject to the making sure that we don't have any markup for the public or the
Aye.
outreach.
Thank you.
perfect.
It's good.
Southern Marin,
Aye.
Stinson Beach,
Aye.
Corte Madera,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
San Anselmo.
Yes.
That is a unanimous vote. Motion
Motion
passes.
passes. Thank you so much. Okay, now we will go on to item, sorry, 6D, which I requested. So this is the cost of living increase to our Measure U on your tax bill coming up. And so, Mark, do you want to explain what that is?
You bet. So within the JPA and the Measure C language, we have the opportunity to evaluate a cost of living adjustment based on the Bay Area CPI, February to February CPI. It's based on our language, we have a 3% cap or what the CPI says, whichever value is lower. One note that there is no quote banking. Let's say the CPI came in at 4%, our cap is 3%. We can't bank that 1% for future years, for years like this year that came under 3%. As a little bit of a history for that first year that we were in existence, we were unable to have the bandwidth to expend all of the Measure C dollars. We did not pass, the board decided not to adjust the tax rate based on the CPI. In subsequent years, we have continued to pass that CPI. And quite frankly, staff feels we need to continue that practice. The CPI has been landing in February at 2.5%, but through most of the year, the cost of living adjustments or the increases of inflation have been greater than 2.5%. So we're actually falling a little bit behind in our ability to exercise work. And so if we skip a year with a CPI adjustment or a COLA adjustment, then we actually will have compounding efforts to decrease down the road. So, and we definitely are sensitive to what it means to the taxpayer for us to have an automatic adjustment, and hence President Hilliard wanting to make sure that this was a discussion rather than just simply a consent item. And after doing a little bit of math, the impact for the average household will be about $8 a year if we pass this.
Okay. Now, comments and questions from the board? Seeing none, going to public comment. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, no public comment. So now we have a motion. We need a motion. So will someone make a motion to approve the item?
I'll make the motion to move this item. Thank you.
Second?
I would second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
And that is a motion by Director Kohler with a second from Director Goings. In order of member agencies present, San Rafael,
Yes.
Larkspur,
Yes.
Marin, County of Marin, Inverness,
Aye.
Kentfield,
Aye.
Muir Beach,
Aye.
Novato,
Yes.
Sleepy Hollow,
Aye.
Southern Marin,
Aye.
Stinson Beach,
Aye.
Corte Madera,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
and San Anselmo.
Yes.
And that is a unanimous vote. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on then to action items. Item 7, strategic measures for Goal 4, outreach and education. Mark, would you and Charlotte please?
I'm going
provide
to
the
immediately pass
information?
it off to the smart one.
Charlotte,
Good
it's all
afternoon.
yours. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, directors. My name is Charlotte Jourdain. I'm a consultant for Marin Wildfire, and I'm here to propose for adoption are progress measures, strategic measures towards goal 4, which is our public outreach and education goal. So the recommended action before you is to approve 4 strategic measures that inform progress towards Marin Wildfire strategic goal 4, public outreach and education. Just to recap, Marin Wildfire has 5 strategic goals. They're listed here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. 5 goals listed here. We have adopted a number of strategic measures already for goal 1, 2, 3, 5. So goal 4 is our last goal that we're looking to track progress on. And once we have your approval today, we will develop progress tracking dashboards similar to the other goals. I think Mark sent those out in an executive officer's report a couple of weeks ago. So the language of goal 4, which you adopted in, I believe, your first strategic retreat, is on this slide with an emphasis, which is mine. This goal really is about encouraging members of the public to do their part through education and outreach. We're really looking for that cultural shift, paying attention to fire prevention and doing what needs to be done on private parcels, but also outside of their homes to protect the community. So a little bit about the process, how we came up with the proposed measures that I'll be presenting in a second. It started, as it always starts with Marin Wildfire, a working group of the subject matter experts. That was step 1, and you can see the members of that group on this slide. We always try to include every zone, but sometimes people are not available and we just have to move forward. Step 2 was the ad hoc committee of this board, and then step 3 was the executive committee of this board. So I apologize for those who've already heard most of this presentation. So I want to take a quick step back and talk to you a little bit about how we established strategic measures for the other goals. I'm using the example of goal 5, which is our defensible space and home hardening goal. We use what's called a causal framework, right, where we look at the steps that need to happen for risk to be reduced. The first step is we conduct an evaluation. The second step is the residents access their report. Then the resident decides what to do about what's on their report. And we have ways to incentivize or, the carrot of the stick to get them to do what is most appropriate. Then the action actually takes place, and hopefully they report and tell us that they've taken that step. The fuel, if it's vegetation, is removed from the property. It's not left in another corner somewhere to burn. And that's what gets us to that risk reduction that we're looking for. So in red, are the measures that I consider to be measures that the public can take action on. So the public can take action on accessing their report. That's a proactive step that we ask residents to take to access their report. They can take action on cutting down the vegetation or hardening their homes. So we are already measuring, to some extent, steps that the community is taking and residents are making towards better fire risk reduction. So I wanted to give you that background. And it's helpful to measure risk reduction at multiple steps, because if we don't see the result we're expecting, we need to know where the bottleneck is, right? We need to know, is it that we're not inspecting enough, or is it because residents are just not seeing their report? We need to have all this information. This is the streamlined version. Obviously, member agencies and staff have a lot more data accessible to them about each of these steps, lots of information about inspections, where, when, how often, was it, from the street or on the parcel, was the resident there or not there? There's a lot more available, but this is how we track at the higher level. Unfortunately, for education and outreach, it doesn't quite work that way, because that's very much behavior-based and human behavior. So it's not so linear. To get residents to take actions, what we really need to do is 3 things. We need to raise awareness that this is a problem, and maybe that's enough for them to take action. We need to provide them with the right resources, whether it's financial resources or information resources, on how to do what the action is that we'd like them to take. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it's not. Maybe they need additional support. Maybe they have questions. They need to call somebody. They need a response to an email. They need a second visit from their inspector. And hopefully then they take action. So the framework of our education and outreach activities takes place within this multi-step, nonlinear circle of awareness, resources, and support that drives residents to take action. So the four measures before you are on the slide, and I'll go through them. The first one is the percent of residents or parcels that attend their wildfire risk evaluation. That's an opportunity for a lot of education to be transmitted during that special time between the inspector and their resident at the location. It's very personalized. It's very sort of custom. It's a custom experience, and we feel that the working group feels it's important to measure whether residents take the time to attend this evaluation. The second one is the percent of parcels that are organized in fire-focused communities, so Firewise communities, IBHS prepared communities, and so on. We're doing really well here in Marin with Firewise communities, but we want to track how our communities develop around fire-focused. The third one has to do with magnifying the impact of our messages through partners and strategic partnerships. So we want to measure partnerships with trade organizations and vendors that include but are not limited to those involved with home preparedness. Everything around the home, builders, realtors, landscapers, landscape architects, nurseries and home hardening vendors, and others, all those have the potential to help amplify the fire prevention message because they touch and they come into contact with residents at a crucial time, which is, the sale of a home or a new landscaping is being installed. There's that touch point that's really relevant to residents that we want to build on. And Fire Safe Marin is developing a program to help optimize this transmission of the message and amplification of the message with residents. The last one has to do with partnership with our unique need communities from a fire risk perspective. So we do want to track that a little bit more carefully to ensure that our message is accessible to all and it responds to the needs of communities based on where they are in terms of fire risk, but also other aspects of that community's characteristics. So I know this is less quantitative than counting number of inspections and number of people who've opened their reports. It's the way it has to be for education and outreach. Most of these measures the last two are going to be tracked through organizational surveys. We're not going to survey residents. We know there's survey fatigue, but we can ask our strategic partners whether we're meeting their needs in terms of providing the education their members are looking for when it comes to implementing fire prevention. That's it for me. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, I'm sure there are questions. Okay, Director McMillan.
Thank you, Charlotte. What's the current percentage of residents who attend the wildfire risk evaluation? I'm just looking for a benchmark.
Do you mean walking with the interacting countywide? It's just under 50%. 50, yes.
Mark, how many parcels and how many residents do we have?
Inspectable parcels are around 80,000 and residents within Marin Wildfire is between 240, 250,000.
Wow. And so the percentages that we're talking about are of that large number or of the people who have come in contact with our program through inspections?
It would be through the inspections, that number I gave you. We've inspected a little over 60,000 of our inspectable parcels. And the number is, in the mid 40% that are actually walking with the inspector.
Just remember that we're not necessarily looking for 100% of all parcels to be inspected because some of them just have no fire risk whatsoever.
I understand, but what I'm looking for is based on what number are we coming up with?
It's based on the number of inspections for that inspection season.
Thank you. Okay, so we've figured out which ones are worth inspecting. Okay, good. Other comments and questions? Yes, Director Kohler.
I realize I already heard this at executive committee, but looking at the first one, when it said who attend their wildfire risk evaluation, participate in? I don't know what attending means, like they're standing there. I mean, I don't want to split hairs, but I was just looking at this thinking, what does that mean? Is that what you mean?
We changed that language quite a bit, and it's the fourth one or the fifth one, I think. So it
Okay.
started with walk with your inspector because that's how the inspector the evaluation program calls it. They ask resident, would you like to walk with me or, come with me
Okay.
as I inspect your parcel? And then there's variations of that. And then I think at the executive committee, we broadened it to any sort of meaningful contact with the organization, which in hindsight is actually not quite a good measure, because if we do our job well, they don't need to contact us. There's less follow-up. So we want to be mindful of what is it that we're trying to capture here. We're trying to capture that special time where the resident and the inspector are on site at the parcel in question, not any parcel in Marin, their parcel, discussing the actions that they specifically can take on that parcel.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Director Kurtz.
Thank you. As I shared at the exec meeting, I have lots of concerns around us just trying to use outreach and education as a goal and a strategy. Because I think everything we do requires outreach and education. And so I'm going to ask Charlotte to put her on the spot a bit. If you had to map these measures into our existing goals, I think we could, I think, I would like curious how you would see to map these to actually how they would go into all of our other goals. And if we would still be measuring these as a effect of our outreach and education for all the different work we're doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the first two are clearly in the line of goal 5, defensible space and home hardening. Probably the third one also. I mean, this is a very important part of what residents can do is goal 5, because residents can endorse or, oppose a fuel break project. Maybe it's partly on their parcel, but really the bulk of the work is on their parcel. So I'm not sure I have more to say about that. It's just two sides of the same coins, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that was sort of our conversation at the exec meeting, and it's a little foreshadowing to, our conversation when we get to the strategic planning conversation. At the time, at the beginning, when I was at that initial meeting when we did the strategy planning, and we were really insistent we needed to have a strategy on outreach and education because we had nothing.
Yeah.
We had a blank sheet of paper. It was really important. Now we know we need to have outreach and education in every piece that we do at different levels, but we need to have it. In of itself, is it a strategy or is it a tool? And that's sort of the question. And so are we really measuring a success of our outreach and education? I think we're measuring if our residents are getting the work done. So you don't have to respond. It was just more of we'll need to take it. I think Mark has a comment about it too.
No, I was just going to mention this is a great primer for the conversation when we go into our strategic retreat. We're halfway through. As Director Kurtz put it, we felt this was important when we formed. And I remember these conversations very well at the beginning. We struggled with whether or not pub ed should be its own goal or not, and we landed on that. And that doesn't mean that it has to always be one of our goals, because it is embedded in every single thing we do. So I think this is a great primer setting us up for our strategic retreat.
Okay, Director Kohler.
Yeah, I just want to add, we did have this conversation at the executive committee, and I would argue that we always need to track our outreach, and just providing the example that after the Oakland fire in the 90s, there were many years where the Oakland residents approved renewing that tax. A couple years ago, they didn't. People have short memories. I think we can talk about this at strategic planning, but I would argue we need to keep on public outreach, no matter what we know and what we think we know. It's just really critical to our mission.
It's going to be a good conversation.
So will this be one of the items in our strategic planning?
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Any other Yes, Bruce.
Really quick.
Director
Thank you for a
Goins.
great presentation, Charlotte. Again, 4A is now percent, and 4B, it just says parcels again. Isn't that again percent? Would you please edit that? I've made this comment at the executive committee. I'm sorry. I like precision here. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Now Julie, go ahead.
Christine, hi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. I was curious to know if we go back to the slide where you were showing the education and outreach slide, where you, well, the first slide you showed was a linear model of causation. The second was, yeah, exactly this one. So you have the three pillars: awareness, resources, and support, which I think is really useful. And if we think about this in a crawl, walk, run type of scenario, we might be in the crawl or walk stage. As we start to think about driving accountability with individual parcels that may be falling behind that we can see have been at the same state over and over, is there a line of sight on how to address that? So adding another pillar being accountability as opposed to support. I mean, you do support as well, but how do we get people to actually take action?
Yeah, I do a lot of program evaluation, but not in education or marketing or sort of like human science, so to speak. So I wouldn't know how generally it's mapped out. I think that you're talking about something that more surrounds the entire thing, which is that idea of the carrot or the stick. I don't know that it's another pillar necessarily, but it definitely is similar to how grants incentivize residents to take action. Here we're talking about what we can do to incentivize residents to take action, and that could be, fine compliance, it could be incentive, it could be all sorts of things, really, right?
Right. I mean, even just ideas such as we publicly show neighborhoods how they're doing over time in comparison to their neighbors, for example, not as a shaming exercise, but as a leaderboard to encourage action and accountability and insight.
Yeah, so we do show a little bit of that on our progress dashboards. We have it by zone. It's not by neighborhoods, but it is by zone, and you can see the percent of violations that are resolved. It's very low, so I would say that's the starting point. Yeah.
Thank you. Director Donahue.
Yes, just briefly, just to dovetail on that, Christine, I think that should be something that we definitely talk about at our strategic planning meeting, accountability. We have a lot of units in West Marin that are owned, and they're very rarely have residents use them. So, and then the families is passed down from generation to generation, et cetera, et cetera. And those are the ones, these units, don't pay any attention to it. So how do we hold these properties accountable? Because the neighbors are complaining that they're not doing anything, but we're doing all of this. So I think it's something maybe we can figure out how to address.
Enforcement is in the purview of the agency having jurisdiction. So that is an agency by agency decision that each agency is going to have to make.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. More comments? Now we'd like to take oh yes, Chief Tyler.
Yes, thank you. Bill Tyler with Fire Safe Marin. I'm speaking just on behalf of the committee that helped come up with these measures. And I just wanted to clarify that we have contemplated the answers to the questions that Director Kurtz had about tying public education to other strategic measures. They're just found in the scope of work that is being completed and costed out right now. So, for example, we have public education outreach as one of the pillars of the JPA. We have goals that have been identified, and then those goals feed the metrics, and then the work plan feeds back into the metrics as well. So, for example, and I know you'll see this in a future meeting, but our first program of work is development and coordination of new and existing Firewise communities. And the connection to the strategic measures under that work plan include 2B, which is the number of contacts subscribed to Alert Marin, 4C, percentage of JPA organized into fire-focused communities, whether that be Firewise, IBHS, et cetera.
5B, percentage of residents who open their wildfire risk report. 5C, percentage of parcels with at least half of all defensible space violations resolved. So you can see these messaging and the educations and the programs and the trainings are going to try and drive Firewise communities, which we intend on expanding, to take these actions that then will show up in the metrics. So we have metrics identified for each one of the programmatic goals. So they're there.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? Okay, now it's time for the public. I'd like to ask any public present or online who would like to make comments on what we've just heard to please let us know.
There are no hands at this time.
They're not seeing no public comments. I think we want the vote just to approve this process so far as it moves forward. And so we are voting on accepting this, approving the strategic measures for Goal 4, public outreach and education, which
So moved.
good. Thank you, Director Goins. Second, Director Kurtz. Could you have a roll call vote, please?
In order of member agency, Sanderfell,
Aye.
Larkspur,
Yes.
County of Marin,
Yes.
Inverness,
Aye.
Kentfield,
Aye.
Muir Beach,
Aye.
Novato,
Aye.
Sleepy Hollow,
Aye.
Southern Marin,
Aye.
Stinson Beach,
Aye.
Corte Madera,
Yes.
Fairfax,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
and Anselmo.
Yes.
That is a unanimous vote. Motion passes.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was excellent. Okay, moving on. So now we are at staff reports, item 8, the finance report. How well are we doing? Mark, can you give us the staff report?
I'll just say hello real quick and say that we've had the opportunity to transition to Karen Scalabrini at the now with the fire safe or Southern Marin Fire District, and she will give the report while I fix this staticky microphone.
Great. Hi, Karen.
Thank you very much, Mark. Look, we are doing wonderfully overall. The financial performance as of February 28th, 2026 is very strong and expenses are below budget. We have revenues I'll just do a quick summary. Revenues are at 56% of the budget. Expenditures down at 34, and I can elaborate on that a little bit more into the report. Again, there's a strong net revenue position and cash remains stable. Our revenues are at 12.7 million with a budget of 22.8. Measure C is at 55%. And again, timing is 55%, even though we're about 67% through the year. Timing is property tax. So we'll see the remainder of that revenue come in April, I believe. Interest, budgeted interest is at 84%. And if anybody has questions while I'm moving through this, if I'm moving too fast, just let me know to slow down. Or if you have questions, please let me know. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, wonderfully. Okay, total expenditure overview. Total expenditures are at 7.7 million with a budget of 22.8. We've utilized 34% of the budget so far. And while this seems low, the total expenses, are well below the benchmark at 67% of the year. But it's mostly due to the defensible space payments to agencies in the wildfire mitigation program. And that's about 4.6 million that has not been spent for the year. There's only about 15,000 that's been spent so far. Administrative costs are at 49% of the budget. Personnel costs are at 60%. Legal at 30%. And supplies and services at 59%. And overall, the personnel department or personnel costs are tracking slightly higher than the rest, while legal and other services remain well below under budget. Core program is at 56% of your budget. Chipper days is at 76%. Fuel breaks at 65% and public education at 32%. So balance sheet highlights, total assets are at 18.6 million, cash at 18.4. And there's limited, the liabilities that you have are minimal with a strong fund balance. So overall, financial position is strong. The spending is below projections. As always, continued monitoring is always suggested. So if you have any questions on the actual report on the budget, if you have any line items you had questions on, please let me know.
Yes, I'm Director Adoni.
Yeah, thank you for the report. On the health insurance, is that just a payment ahead of time, or is that the current trend that we're going to be twice as much at the end of the year for health insurance as we budgeted?
So I was looking at those payments and noted that there was a little bit there's been some increases in there. And Mark, do you want to speak to any of that on the health insurance? I noticed there was a payment in December missed, and then it was caught back up again. And I couldn't pull the. I was trying to pull the detail of if there was added members, and I couldn't at this point.
Yeah, when I looked into that, what it looks like to me is that we under budgeted at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So the baseline was we're at 67%. I mean, that's of the year. So all those percentages are relating to 67%, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions? Yes, Director Schlesinger.
Curious about the metrics development tracking line where we're about 190,000 over budget. I'm assuming that's just time shifted in some way or something like that, but that's a pretty big number to be over budget there.
It's a very large number to be over budget, actually. And I did pull the detail on that and noticed that it was the CWPP update for Sonoma Technology. And that makes up about 129,810 of that 381. So without those particular payments, you'd have about 35,000 remaining in your budget.
And if I can interrupt real quick, what it is, it's a coding error. We should have coded those invoices to the CWPP line item rather than the metrics line item.
Got it. Okay. So that will that be fixed for
Yes.
the next report? Okay, thank you.
Good catch. Thank you so much. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Thank you for the more detailed report. Very nice. Appreciate it. I'll now take public comments on this item. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment on our finance report?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, hearing none, then this does not require a vote. It's an acceptance. So we'll move on to item B, which is work plan implementation update for all the years we've ever been in existence. Good luck.
So buckle up. Good afternoon, everyone. So just a few slides here. I wanted to make sure you're all aware of our next field trip, and that is taking place in Novato. We're going to highlight a Firewise garden around the headquarters at Novato Fire. So Novato Fire staff and you see Master Gardeners. Master Gardeners going to help host this. We're going to have a great time, 10 to 11:30 on the 27th of March. So please join us. We also have other events coming up. Public CWPP update meeting on May 2nd. So we chose a date. Now we're figuring out the details. We'll likely start around 9:30 or 10 a.m. and allow time for both presentation and tabling and kind of one-on-one conversations as well. So we look forward to sharing more information on that very soon. We've been working with Fire Safe Marin to help with the the planning of that event and the outreach for that. So more information coming soon. Additional events internally, we've been working on reaching out to member agencies and land management agencies that we partner with on how do we tackle broom, French broom, Scotch broom, etc. We have a lot of non-native invasive shrubs in our understory, and we are battling it on a regular basis. So let's share lessons learned and figure out what's working for different folks and share all that information. So that's coming up soon. We also have GIS trainings coming up for staff. For member agencies, our GIS contractor is going to be hosting training sessions, just kind of intro to the tools that we use to track projects and also the tools that you would use generally to manage GIS. Mark mentioned the Resources Legacy Fund, so that's another event, great opportunity to highlight the work that we're doing. The WUI conference, Mark mentioned that as well, so I won't go into that. I'll jump into this slide. This is a lot of words. I'll just highlight a few things. One, the photo on the left is from a Fire Foundry event that Mark and I attended yesterday afternoon for a couple of hours there. We love supporting Fire Foundry, so we were able to get out in the field. You'll see Belle Cole there in the foreground, who hiked in 90-degree heat yesterday and was a real trooper. So we kicked off their training event with information on local ecology, so learning kind of native and non-native plants and trees. It was a great event. So Marin Wildfire staff has been very, very busy. Here are a few of the things that we've been working on. Preparation for next field season, so all that vegetation management that's going to be taking place. There's a lot of work behind the scenes to get ready for doing all of that. The right to enter agreements for parcels that we'll be visiting. Right to enter agreements to land management agencies, make sure they have all the contractors and consultants who are going to be doing surveys or work on their lands. We've been finishing up some work in the Muir Beach area, so very exciting to get work done out there. And that is really wrapping up. So some work on federal land along Highway 1, and then also work on Terwilliger, a lot of hazard trees and hazardous vegetation. So great work there. We've also been supporting some of our member agencies in Central Marin on grazing projects, coming to public meetings and helping talk about kind of the science behind it and the why, showing some fire pathways modeling that shows the risk on the landscape. Then we've been really diving into contracting, making sure that the crews are ready to go for this next field season. We also have some broom pulling going on. So on the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Field Break, you may see some crews out there pulling broom. Other projects as well. In the regulatory world, we've got a lot going on, a lot of coordination with the Coastal Commission, as well as the tribe of Federated Indians, Great and Rancheria, thank you. So we've been meeting with them regularly to coordinate work in all around Marin, but especially in the coast right now. We regularly communicate with Department of Fish and Wildlife, the water boards, and other regulatory agencies. We send data to the water board quarterly. They'd like to see where we're working anywhere near riparian areas, and they've been very supportive, as I've mentioned previously, and continued support for environmental compliance, geological surveys, cultural resources surveys, botanical, bird surveys, etc. So lots of coordination there. The grant program continues to disperse grants. We continue to build the Zone Zero program, which is no longer called the Zone Zero in a box, and continuing on the Chipper program. And signups for next season are way up, and so lots of activity there and lots of demand for chipping. I wanted to also note, the CWPP update is underway. There are draft documents with member agencies right now. We're asking for more feedback. We're hoping to get that feedback by the end of this month. And then we'll take April to really dive into making those edits and updates and then bring that to the public in May. We also have an annual report that's online, and I will switch gears here and I'd like to make sure everybody knows where to find all those dashboards online. Charlotte has demonstrated many of them previously, and I'm just going to take a moment and make sure everyone out there, I'm raising my hand instead of sharing my screen. Everyone out there can find these dashboards and take a look at what we've been up to. So we have 3 dashboards available for anyone in this room or members of the public to view. If you go to our homepage and you hit About MWPA and you go down to Goals and Progress Dashboards, that's a great place to find them. We're also working with our GIS folks to create a data hub where we'll be able to share data and host all those dashboards in one location. But for now, this is an easy way to find them. So head down to Goal 1, Vegetation Management, and click here on this big red word. You can also go down to Goal 2 and click under here and Goal 5, and we're going to be making this much more accessible in the future, but for now, this is where you find it. If you click on here, you head to Goal 1, Vegetation Management, and this is updated quarterly. Another update is just about to be posted any minute, really. And then you get to see acres treated, increase in direct attack acres, overall fire behavior reduction, flame length reduction, etc. And you can zoom in and click on projects and explore all the areas where we're doing work. So when all these member agency staff collect that data, it goes to Green Info Network, who makes sure that all that data is nice and clean and consistent. And then it goes to Willow Labs, who then updates all these metrics here, and then we post it on the dashboard, and that happens every quarter. So I will go back to my slide deck. And I just have one more slide. So the other thing we've been up to is working on the next work plan for next fiscal year. So this slide is one that you've seen a number of times, and each of the operations committee sees it. Hopefully it doesn't make you too cross-eyed. There's a lot of data here, but this is how we track progress on developing the next work plan. So the check marks are things that we've done so far. So we started in December, and we just had another ATC meeting this morning, spent 3 hours all talking through all the nitty-gritty details of all these proposals that are JPA-wide or affect all of us, all of the different member agencies and the entire JPA. So the idea there is to really get down and think through what, say, the Advisory Technical Committee recommends, and then communicate that with the Operations Committee. The Operations Committee is also meeting to discuss all of these details and think through what direction they would like to give all of you. And then next month, you'll be hearing more about the JPA-wide proposals. So those kind of baseline proposals that affect everybody, like public information, public education, the GIS program, the CWPP, all those line items that apply to the whole JPA. So you'll be hearing about those in April, and then we'll dive into additional items, zone-specific projects, and the budget in May. So stay tuned. More information coming up in the next couple months. Happy to take questions.
Can I just add, if you want to be inspired, go spend a day with the Foundry. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. A route to get into the fire service. It's absolutely great, the Fire Foundry. Plus, thank you for putting all of these things in the packet so I could click in the packet on here and get to the dashboard. So it's in your packet. So Director Radoni.
Yeah, just no question, just an announcement. West Marin just renewed its franchise garbage agreement with Recology. And per the residents' request, they're adding a second green can for anyone that wants it at no cost, starting in April. And I just encourage everyone that has franchise to consider that, because that's a way to dispose a lot of your green waste and not tax the chipper program so much. So it's amazing what you can get in those green containers. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Could you repeat
Sanitary has
who is it that's doing that? Recology, and with whom are they doing? West Marin. Good for them. Gee. And Marin Sanitary apparently is doing it too. Great. Wow, progress. Okay. So now, yes, sure.
Ann, you're amazing. Thank you for all the work that you do and your team. I'm astounded at the magnitude of the work and the report. So I want to thank you, Mark and team and everybody. This is astounding. I did find it fascinating that there's a broom workshop coming up to discuss. And I know we talked about, we're so many years into this and we write prescriptions and we made a commitment to monitoring and learning. And I'm assuming that you've learned some things about broom management that you want to share with the veg team. I would like, I'm a professional forester. I'd like to get some of that information too. Do you have anything in writing?
Happy to share that with you.
Okay.
We're still developing the agenda and the materials. We're going to have a lot of speakers, really rely on land management agencies, county parks. Marin Water is going to be hosting site visits. So really reaching out to all of our member agencies and partner agencies. And the questions are, along the lines of, what have you learned that's working? What's not working? What do land management agencies want us to know while we're doing that work on their lands? I think we're going to hear a lot of different voices, some basic information, all the different types of broom. They flower at slightly different times. They're right. So some of the basics, and then diving into kind of a practitioner's guide, what we should know.
I've made an observation in Novato that we did broom removal, big old broom, and pulled it all out. And a year later, there were that I'm not sure which crew it was, but they were on their hands and knees pulling broom seedlings out like this with their gloves. I mean, there were literally tens of thousands of seedlings that were. It's an impossible task. So I'm real interested in what we're learning. And I know that there's interest in
Moving the
some.
broom understory is a very large portion of our vegetation management budget, so we should figure out if there are ways to speed it up and be more efficient and be more effective.
Okay, we have comments from Director Kohler, McMillan, and Kurtz. We'll take Kohler first.
I just want to thank Ann for helping us work through some Central Marin with Todd Lando, who's also the ATC chair, and specifically for Fairfax as well. So thank you for your time and energy and sage advice.
Director McMillan.
Yep, I am assigned to do a Marin Master Gardener IJ article in the fall about fire-wise landscaping. And when you mentioned the broom, I think that's the perfect topic for an article, right? So I would love to participate or get all that information. My article is due, I think, September 1st. So I think that timing should work out really well.
Great.
Happy to help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Kurtz.
On a totally different path. CWPP term is an our term, right? It's a national term, right? State term. Okay. Is that, has there been any conversation that maybe we don't refer to it as CWPP in the community, but do it, but change it so it's branded as Marin Wildfire? Like it could be small. I mean, I just want to put it back out there. Like our community is already saturated and super confused. And I'm concerned about hitting them with another name.
Yeah.
So we don't have to solve it, but.
There are many acronyms that we throw at members of the public. It can be really challenging.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I'll just see if there's an opportunity that we could maybe same work, but different name.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any other comments? Okay, I'll now take public comments. Any member of the public present or online who wishes to speak about this report?
There are no hands at this time.
Thank you. Hearing none, then this doesn't require a motion, and thank you so much, Ann. Okay, we're moving to item 9, committee reports. Operations Committee oral report. An Operations Committee representative will provide the report on this item. Is that true? Okay, who do we have? Mark?
It may be me. Let's check.
Yes. Well, this is where I said this is the update on everything we've done since the beginning. So on
Okay, I
all the
think it's been
fiscal
Mimi.
years?
Dan Mahoney is the chair right now, and Todd Cusumano is the vice chair. So first and foremost, I want to thank both of them for stepping up into those roles. Dan Mahoney, I know, is super busy and but also very engaged in the operations committee. And we talk on the phone and think through all the details before the meetings. He's a fantastic chair, so I really appreciate his efforts. So the operations committee met this month, and we heard presentations on all of the JPA-wide proposals. So that meeting was public, and you can jump into YouTube and find that meeting and listen in. Any of the members of the public are welcome to do that. With that said, all of those proposals are draft. Any of the numbers presented are all draft, not set in stone. So there continue to be conversations around all of the proposals, both with the advisory technical committee and also at ops. The ad hoc subcommittee of the operations committee, more terminology that can be problematic, but so a group of the operations committee who volunteered to dive into all these proposals met yesterday to really think through all of these, very complex proposals, public education and the CWPP, ongoing updates into the future, and provide some guidance. So they're going to be reporting back out to the full operations committee in April. So the next meeting of the operations committee will include that report out, additional guidance on the JPA-wide proposals, and then we'll be hearing more about the zone-specific proposals, the agency-specific proposals during that meeting too. This can be another very full agenda, plenty to talk about, but been making really good progress and been very, very valuable input from all involved. And then they're going to help report out to this board in April. So more coming soon. And that's it for me.
That's it. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, on to the next. I think this is, I lost my place here. Okay, thank you so much. All right. So here's the next report. All right. Item 9B, Fire Safe Marin Education and Outreach Update. So who will take the lead on this one?
That would be me,
Chief Tyler.
Bill Tyler, right, for the Fire Safe Marin.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
have you heard, directors, have you heard that fire resistant homes are beautiful, valuable, and fun? Have you? So when we asked a room full of realtors, Mark and I, they laughed. They laughed. And then we proceeded to tell them that this is an important message that we're trying to communicate. And this message came from Michael Walra, who is at Stanford. He is the director of sustainable policy at Stanford University. And at a Red Sky conference last year, where many of you may have attended also, he shared with the entire group that this is what the public needs to understand. This is what they need to hear. This is what they need to know. And so part of our communication strategy is to lean into that messaging and to try and show examples to the community that these actions that they're taking are beautiful, valuable, and fun. We've given examples of Fire Smart Yards. The flip book that we saw, that this is just the beginning, where you saw what really looked beautiful across multiple pages. Valuable because you're adding value back into your property and you're able to actually insure your property, which helps with the value and the ability to resell that property. And fun is a new one, right? Fun. And so I'm going to share with you in a minute just a couple of other images, but the image that you see here where it says safer homes for everyday moments begins to lean into that. And we're showing a wildfire prepared home. You can see the zone 0 element, but it's not the focus. The focus isn't trying to explain to everybody what that is. The focus is just on this beautiful picture where you can imagine your family and friends putting yourselves there. And we also do have images of families having fun in their yards, but you're going to see more and more of this. And again, this is a co-branded piece that just ran in Sunday's Marin IJ. So I don't know if you had it. I brought one copy and somebody already grabbed it off the table. So anyway, I just want you to know that these assets are in play. We also have, because the February report, which you had in your packet, is really looking backwards, we also just wanted to acknowledge what's happening right now. And so since the last time we reported out, 2 newsletters, or excuse me, at least March's newsletters is new. And what's really special about this one that's getting a lot of attention is Belle Cole and an article that we did specifically on her, and then also followed up with some information about ESP, and just got a tremendous response. And Belle contacted us and was just sort of overwhelmed with the number of people that have seen it and recognize and basically share how much they care for her and everything that she's done. And so it's just a terrific opportunity to kind of recognize and celebrate people that are working in Marin for these efforts. And you'll see other interviews that we're going to post as we go along of other important members. We've had a little update to our kiosks that I wanted to share with you. Remember, these kiosks are strategically located in hardware stores and lumber yards, libraries, other places where people congregate. And this one happens to be in a hardware store, but we're starting to change some of the messaging around. This is Protect Your Home from Wildfire. It's co-branded with all of the fire agencies. And then there's a QR code which is added, which is new, that takes you to a place where you can discover Fire Smart yards and also the home hardening pieces. And so on the left-hand side is just all the locations where those kiosks are present currently in our community. I mentioned about the ads that we're trying to put out now. You can see that another one that had run earlier, Fire Smart. Let's see, Fire Smart Still Beautiful, right? You can imagine yourself there. You can see other images of families, a young child kind of running there in the yard in their jammies. And those are both in English and Spanish. So those have been produced and have been distributed across social media and on other print ads. And then also on the far left are e-blasts that go out to realtors and to contractors, and that demonstrate different assets that we have. For example, the videos on home hardening, et cetera. And they can pass those on. They can include those in their newsletters that go out, and that will target specifically that community. All right. So I'll stop sharing. So that's really what's been going on right now that we wanted to bring your attention to. And we're also working hard behind the scenes on our work plan, on making sure that we can work with all the agencies as efficiently and effectively as possible. And so I have available for questions if you have any.
Okay, are there any questions at this point, or do you want to defer it to the next item, which continues the Zone Zero? Okay, so are there any questions from the board? Any comments?
I want to thank you for the 90-second clip that helped me determine what I need to do with my deck, my wooden deck in the back of my house. I didn't know, and I thought it was going to cost thousands of dollars, and frankly, that 90-second clip was invaluable, so thank you. And I did complete hardening my home, and please come take pictures.
Thank you for that, Bruce. And we're going to be coming to Bruce's home to try and take some images and some video and incorporate that, because he's done some terrific home hardening work at his own place. So we appreciate that. And I do want to just wrap up by saying this. When we asked the realtors at first if they had heard that and they laughed, we did our presentation. And then at the end, we asked them to say, fire resistant homes are beautiful, valuable, and fun. We got 60 realtors to say that out loud. And we think we have it on video. So maybe we'll come back and share that with you.
Documented.
So spread the word. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll take any comments from the public. Are there any members of the public? Oh, did you want to say something, Director McMillan?
Bill, I think it's great that you're going to the realtors. I think that's really, really important. So thank you for thinking of that.
Yes, Chris Backer, who is with the Marin Association of Realtors, is on our board. He's a new board member. And so we've been working with that relationship. So it's been excellent.
Great. Other comments? Public comments? Are there any public comments?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, thank you so much for your report, and we'll move on then to item 10, information items, Zone Zero in a Box program presentation.
Coming to you live by popular demand, Kathleen Cutter.
First, I want to thank you very much for inviting me to come today. I'm very excited. It's been, am I not speaking? There we go. Okay, now you can hear me. All right, so I'm very excited to come here finally to speak to you. I feel like we're ready. I should say that this new name is Ember Ready. We have a tagline. It's Ember Ready, ready for embers, wildfire, prepared for wildfire. Let me say it again. Ready for embers, prepared for wildfire. Something like that. Anyway, you'll see it. Sorry, it's like I'm still wrapping my head around. We got our tagline this morning. We have a logo that I'll get to share with you as well. But this is a program that we've been mulling about, Joe and I've been mulling about for about 6 months. And I have to say, it's based on our experience. I spent 5 years as the Defensible Space Lead for the Alliance, which is a large part of the Defensible Space program for Marin. I ran the Chipper program the year before that for Fire Safe Marin and worked with Firewise communities and leaders, being that Firewise liaison. So I've been in the trenches. I know what people are saying and what people are asking, what people want. And I really think that Ember Ready is that next step that we need to take to inspire people to go from recommendations to action, like Christine was saying earlier today. I think that's super important. I also want to talk about the fact that the wildfire risk report is something that we've needed to work on a bit and make people want to open it and get inspired when they open it. That's what this program is all about. And I think we're putting those pieces together. So I'm just going to briefly, I'm going to try to keep it brief, to tell you how that is looking currently. So the first thing you should see here is on the screen. You see there's our logo right below Fireside that says Ember Ready, and it has our little logo there. But we are not building this alone. We are serving all of Marin residents. As Mark said earlier, we have 60,000 residents that we're trying to reach. There is no way that we're going to help 60,000 residents with just Joe and I. We're good, but no, we're not that good. So what we really need to do is we really need to leverage our partners. We need to build on what's already built, and that is what we're doing. Fireside, as you know, is our software platform for both our Chipper program as well as our Defensible Space Inspection program. So we're really working with them. They also got a grant. So we're partnering with them to bring it to every single resident with Marin. They don't need to know about Ember Ready. Ember Ready is working in the background. But what we're doing is we're working with the other thing you should know is Fire Safe Marin is a partner. I'm going to skip over the middle column there. Fire Safe Marin and University of California, UCCANR. They are our partners. Fire Safe Marin is, as you know, building that fix the risk for residents, but they're also, as you have heard, they're making a whole great platform for landscape professionals, or excuse me, for home hardening professionals, for contractors to be able to give them the ability to do fix the risk. We are also working closely with developing a landscaper program for landscape professionals with UCCANR. So that comes into play. So our local partners are Fire Safe Marin and University of California. We all know we all want to become a wildfire prepared home or CAL FIRE ready for wildfire. And that's what we're doing is we are working with Fireside on that right-hand column. It's really hard to see, but what we have is when you open your wildfire risk report coming in May, you'll see a prioritization list. That prioritization list is using wildfire prepared home plus and basic, as well as a ready for CAL FIRE. So you can really see what you need to do to bring your home up to the correct standard for your risk tolerance. I want to be a wildfire prepared home because I want to get insurance, a better rate on insurance. I'm going to be able to see that right here. I'm going to be able to prioritize my action steps because they're laid out there for me. Not only that, you will be able to see, again, sorry about the resolution, but on the very bottom of your wildfire risk report, let's say you click, I need to do a swap out my uncombustible fence attached to my house with a non-combustible. Well, look right down there. It says, hey, I can connect you to contractors who do this work. So then I go ahead and, oh, really? I can do that? What does that look like? So then what it does, oops, sorry, this thing is a little dragged. There, what it does is it allows me to communicate with contractors directly, vendors correctly. And how does it do that? Well, it shoots us to the Fire Safe Marin page, whether it's a home hardening expert or a landscaper. You'll be able to see a list of vendors that have taken the courses that these two institutions have made for us. So you take your Fire Safe Marin contractors class, you're listed there as having completed that class. You've taken the landscaper class from the UCC ANR, it's going to be listed there. So you're going to be able to confidently select contractors and landscapers that know how to do the work that the wildfire risk report is asking you to do. So then you can email them directly in your report, and you can have the option to share pictures of your personal report with these contractors or the landscapers. So that is a piece that has been missing. So again, you have your prioritized list matched with IBHS. You have vendors that you can directly contact in your report. This serves all of Marin, whether you know about Ember Ready or not. The other thing it does is it allows you, it will also provide a page for you to understand wildfire insurance resources. So if you're, if you're concerned about getting non-renewed, it will even, we're hoping it will eventually have connections to, if you're on the wildfire, if you're on the California Fair Plan, you'll be able to say, hey, Mercury Insurance, these are the standards that Mercury Insurance has for you. You're this close for meeting, getting off of the Fair Plan and being qualified to apply for Mercury Insurance or some other insurance carrier. So next is, this leaves us, so that again, this serving all Marin residents serves everybody, no matter if just a single resident. So that's great. Inspiring people to open their report, getting them to connect the docs directly through their report. But this leaves us, Joe and I, something we can handle. It's being focused on the communities and focused on getting out direct assistance funds to residents who most need it. What you see here is how we're taking this approach. We are targeting strategic areas or communities that have been identified as having higher risk. We're doing this using the high fire severity zones, the WUI maps. So those mappings, we're using the modeling that we have extensive information on. We are talking to the individual fire agencies. We're going to the jurisdictions. It's really super important. That's something I learned being in D-Space. Every individual jurisdiction knows what their needs are. They know they have relationships with their communities. They know which ones are going to be active, which ones where their highest priorities are. So we will work directly with the fire departments, and we're tailoring each of our community programs to the jurisdiction, because Novato is very different from Marin County, which is very different from San Rafael, which is very different from Bolinas. You can't it's not one size fits all. Joe and I believe we have that capacity to do with that, because this is a modular program, which I'll get into in a second. The second thing is we are going to consider socioeconomic and structure density considerations, because those are essential for like urban conflagration. We want to see how that fits into our approach. We are also targeting Firewise and HOAs because they already have things in place. They already have that community relationships in place. They have the email lists. They know these are the communities that are already involved. So those are the areas we're targeting. You see the map on the right there, what's kind of flashing in and out. are the Firewise sites. And you can see they're really on the edge of our high wildfire danger areas. So we are, again, not focusing this, like the direct assistance that we're going to be offering is really community assistance. We're going to go, let's say we're going to go into, let me talk about one of our pilots. Our first pilot is in Southern Marin. It's with Marin Firewise. The first Firewise in Marin County. Southern Marin decided to select them. They've been a Firewise site since 2009. They're very active. So we knew that they were well connected with their community. They're very motivated. And they also have an HOA, which has some advantages. We are leveraging wildfire defense mesh. Is anybody familiar with this product? It has the fire marshal ASTM certification. It is a step above the regular mesh that you might buy at a regular hardware store. They have a platform that's existing. We are leveraging that platform. Why reinvent the wheel? Again, it's just Joe and I. We need to take all the tools that are available. We're leveraging this wildfire defense mesh program, their platform. They have listed contractors. We're going to work so that we're throwing it out to the community. They're going to select the vendor. We're going to leverage, again, the wildfire defense platform, their software platform. And we will provide them a education event. We will provide them the inspections. We will help shepherd them through this work, and we'll do the post inspections. So it's basically stepping through the entire process using this wildfire defense mesh. Southern Marin is also able to help them with giving a chipper program. They also have some direct assistant funds that they'll be able to throw at this. So for each individual department we go to, we will take the resources that are available at that location in that jurisdiction and stack them on top. So it's a modular program that is scalable. So that's that. Our second current pilot is based in Marin City. This is an HOA that approached us. This is 142's large HOA. They had a plan in place. They came to us and said, we want to do zone 0 vegetation removal over 3 years. We cannot do this all at once. We don't have that kind of cash. So can you help us? Southern Marin, the Southern Zone decided to give them some direct assistance money. We just did our flagging of the material in zone 0 and some other vegetation best practices flagging. We will come in next few months, we'll come and remove that vegetation around that zone 0. We will be also putting in hardscape around 3/4 of their, the three sides of their condominium complex. We're leaving the front side for their landscaper. Their landscaper will pick the decorative gravel that is a little more beautiful than the gravel that we're putting in and around the sides, because that is not very viewable. So it's totally adequate for this hillside HOA. But again, we're working with their landscapers. We are using our landscapers. We're stacking sources because we're going to use the Marin County Chipper Day, Marin Wildfire Chipper Day to help cut the material. And we're working with Marin County's, we're having them doing the CEQA stuff too. So it's an all-encompassed package that they would otherwise not be able to do this. It's going to be an example of what zone 0 can look like beautifully at an HOA. So it will be the template for the rest of the units going forward, if that makes sense. We're just focusing on the most vulnerable part of the HOA, getting it into compliance the best we can. The rest of the HOA will see this and they'll come into compliance slowly over these 3 years. The other thing that we're doing is, again, we're doing before and after inspections. So we'll be able to capture that data and eventually show that it will start to appear on our dashboard number 5 for home hardening defensible space. And you will also see it in our fireside data on the backside. But what we're really hoping to do is help residents, communities by focusing our attention on communities, on the high-risk communities with the help of our fire departments and with our modeling. I think we'll really be able to harden the edges of our communities so the downstream effects are going to be felt, because we're going to get those those most vulnerable neighborhoods, so it doesn't come stream into our more urban areas. And we're going to focus our DA dollars there. So we're going to get more bang for our buckets, accumulative, because we know if we can harden a whole community, it's very different than just sporadically or erratically helping homes. It's just a concentrated effort based on fire department recommendations. So it's the best of both worlds, leveraging modeling and data and real world experience. And that is our beautiful new logo and our everything. So.
Thank you so much for your presentation. The reason that I am happy about this is I sat down in your office and said, here's what I want to do based on my report. I'm worried. I don't have a lot of money to spend on hardening. How do I do it? Can I do it in phases? What resources can you tell me about, which you have included in all of this? So I feel that even though you're doing this now as HOAs and on larger communities, if an individual wanted to call in, they could get that kind of help and tell me, well, what are my possible sources of funding for this? Can I do it in phases? What's the most essential thing first? And so I was really delighted when you said you would come. I have to say that I could not see those little slides. So maybe you can change that. And how do you all feel about Ember Ready? Now comments from the board?
I think it's great because you can visualize the embers flying at the side of your house. So, and it means that it's going to happen and you have to be ready. So I think it's great.
To me, this is a logical next step based on my experience. We need to help people get the work done. And there is that gap. It's like, we do need the carrot, we do need the stick, and we do need the hand holding. And we just have to figure out that. I should also mention that the wildfire defense mesh, it's like the idea of doing it in a community, they get a discount on materials, on the wildfire defense material. They also potentially get a discount from the contractor. The contractors are already dealing with this because this program that Wildfire Defense Mesh has it's already a developed program. So we're just hitching our wagon to something that's already functional and working.
Thank you. Comments? Yes.
Yeah, just one thing. I like what you've done with the logo. I would just make one suggestion. The word ember, where it's in yellow, I would make it darker so that it pops. Because I know when I'm sitting here and I'm looking at either screen, the ember part and that yellow doesn't really stick out. I just think it needs to be a little bit darker. So somebody looks at it and it pops out at you.
I'd agree with that. That's the first time that literally we got it today.
No, that's fine. And again, it's all great work also.
It's great because now I'm going to go tell them to change it.
Yeah. And then you're running 2 pilot programs now. Are you going to run a 3rd pilot program or how are you going to expand this out eventually?
We already have several communities that have expressed interest and we're going to roll those out. It's just basically we want to focus on the first couple to see how they go. Okay. We're working out a lot of kinks. There's still a lot of stuff that we're developing out. We have to make sure we dot our I's, cross our T's. We're building this plane as we fly it, and we're just making sure we have some wings on and the engine in the right place and all that before we do it more. But yes, we already have some lined up and we're really excited to get this going.
Okay, thanks. Great work.
So Director Way.
Hi, thank you everybody for accommodating me. I'm in Bend, Oregon, taking care of a 6-day-old granddaughter. But I just want to say, in Bend, in Deschutes County, where I am right now, it's 250,000 residents like Marin. They have nothing like this. There is no education I see. There's no plan that I have seen. There's one inspector for this entire county. And last year alone, they had 2 major fires, a 24,000 acre fire right outside of town and a 96,000 acre fire north of this county. And it's extraordinarily the lack of planning I see as somebody with this experience here. So I just want to commend all of us and the work that's being done. I'm looking out a window right now at hundreds of invasive juniper trees. we have done extraordinary amount of work to prepare our community. And I can compare and contrast it to where I am now, where the fires here are extraordinary. And hopefully we're preventing that with all the work that we're doing. So thank you for keeping up. And I think I like this new Ember Ready, because these two fires I'm relating to were ember driven and wind driven. And that's exactly what we have to keep focusing on. So thanks. And thanks for accommodating me, because I know it's taken a little longer to do the roll call votes, but that's all I have. Thanks.
Delighted to have you. Okay. Director Kohler.
Hi, I wonder if you could put the logo back up again.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a crisis going on somewhere, so I missed some of your presentation, but just something, I would agree the ember needs to be darker or something. But what I see that's missing is Marin Wildfire. I mean, nobody knows except those of us on the board what that logo is with the little fire in between. So I think maybe at the top where you have a little space, you could write Marin Wildfire. Because that's part of what we need to do is get the message out there that's Marin Wildfire doing this work. And I just want to commend you and Joe for all your work. The only question I have, and maybe this is just my own ignorance, is, we know that it's embers that cause the fires, not just a fire. And so I'm just questioning, do we think that the general public really gets that message that it's embers? Because I'll be honest, before I got on this board, I didn't know. And so I think it's great that we're changing from zone zero, because that just sounds like the desert, or skeletons or something. But what do you think, with your experience? Because the other thing is we're all kind of close to this. So I'm just wondering if you think the general public gets it.
There's two things. One is that's one reason why we chose Ready for Embers, Prepared for Wildfire in our tagline, to kind of make sure that goes along with it, because it is true. But working for, again, since 2020 on this, I have seen, because I've answered, we get 40 emails a day downstairs, so I've seen it. I've seen the evolution of the questions of residents. They are getting that message that embers is an issue. They really are. Their questions are getting more and more sophisticated. I've seen over the past 5 years. Yes, we have new members to the community that are still clueless, and we have some others that are moving in who are very savvy, because they're moving in from other areas that they're fleeing, actually, some of them. But I think with the reports, they all talk about it. We just keep repeating, and we don't want to change the language. In my experience, we want to keep it simple and concise, because that what sticks in the head. It just sounds like it's repeating, and there's a common theme. Embers is the common theme that we've been talking about for years. And I do think that I've seen that people are getting that.
Okay, well, that's great.
Director McMillan.
If we can add Marin Wildfire in that little space.
If you notice the upper left-hand corner, the C is the direct, it's from our logo. So, but you're saying that that's not direct enough.
I just don't think, if this is gonna be our logo, most people don't have any idea what that C with the little piece of fire is.
Okay.
So let's spell it out.
So, and I just want to, I like to think of us as the shadow program, because again, Ember Ready is not going to appear on your wildfire risk report. How it's going to appear in your wildfire risk report is the dialed out, the expanded and improved wildfire risk report, the prioritization list, the vendor connection list. We don't really need Ember Ready in there, because you're right. I think there's too many messages going on. Joe and I are happy to fly under the radar and just let Marin Wildfire take credit for that, 100%. Where we really are not advertising to the public, hey, Ember Ready, we're going to go to your neighborhood and help you dial it in. Because again, Joe and I don't have that capacity, and we really want to focus on those high wildfire risk neighborhoods, the ones that the fire departments and the modeling shows us that we really need to attend to first. Coming down the, and I get your point, and I'm not sure how we want to adjust it, but again, Ember Ready is not going to be really a facing forward public entity. We're going to be kind of behind in supporting Marin Wildfire. Does that make sense?
Sure. Thank you so much, both of you, for all your hard work.
Yes, Director McMillan.
I was just going to say, I think people are really aware of embers and the ember storms after the LA fires. And I just got done reading this book called Firestorm. Have you read that, Mark? You would hate it. But I think people are really in tune with what's going on with these embers, especially with Santa Ana winds and Diablo winds.
Okay, so you've heard our comments about darkening up the ember and looking to see if you can, what you can do about the wording. And the presentation was really interesting, and thank you so much. And I really appreciate it. Okay, now we are back to the agenda. So item 10B, minutes of the Operations Committee meeting, and what should we be doing about that? Okay, so, and C, minutes of the Executive Committee. Those are information items requiring no action. So we'll move on to item 11, which is board members' requests regarding future agenda items. Do board members have requests for future agenda items?
We do have Bruce's note for the biomass, but we're just trying to find a right meeting to do it based on the busy season that we're in right now.
Yeah, and Mark, the request is to take it to the executive committee first to make some decisions about, what the implications are for our operations in the coming years and the coming decades, hopefully.
So, any other comments? Any public comments? I want to thank our presenters today. They really did a great job, all of them. And this was really substantive. Thank you so much for your hard work. We're adjourned. Except when I get muddled up.
Well, I think I muddled you up.